drag racing, speed is not just a thrill, it's a way of life. Every run down the quarter mile is packed with danger, a balancing act between control and catastrophe. At 300 miles per hour, a blink lasts longer than survival. The engines scream, the tires twist, and for 4 seconds, life hangs in the tension between acceleration and destruction. But every now and then, the chase for victory ends in silence. Behind the roar of nitro and the shimmer of chrome lies a dark truth. The sport's greatest innovations were written in loss. These crashes, the most devastating ever caught on camera, didn't just break metal. They broke hearts, rewrote rules, and reshaped drag racing forever. This is not a highlight reel. It's a timeline of tragedy and rebirth. A chronicle of moments when man's pursuit of speed collided with the limits of physics. Each story carries 2 halves: the pain that shook the racing world and the progress born from it. Tonight, we revisit the 10 crashes that changed everything. From infernos and explosions to the silent killers no one saw coming. They are reminders that progress in racing has never come cheap. Every innovation, every layer of armor, every split-second rule exists because someone paid for it with their life. Every second counts. And some never get a second. Don Big Daddy Garlits was drag racing's fearless pioneer. A man who built his own machines and pushed them to their limits. On a warm spring day in 1970, during the final round at Lyons Drag Strip in California, everything went wrong. As Garlits launched off the line, the transmission exploded with unimaginable force. Shards of metal ripped through the cockpit, and the blast severed part of his right foot. The car spun, the engine screamed, and the crowd went silent. Paramedics rushed in as smoke and debris clouded the track. Garlits was conscious, in agony, but alive. The accident nearly ended his career, but instead, it sparked his greatest contribution to the sport. During his recovery, he began sketching a radical new design, moving the engine behind the driver. The rear-engine dragster was born out of blood and necessity. It eliminated the deadly risk of transmission and clutch explosions directed toward the driver's legs and torso. Many in the sport doubted it would work, but Garlits proved them wrong. His first rear-engine car won instantly, and became the standard of safety across all top-fuel dragsters. He lost part of himself that day, but in doing so, he saved countless others. What began as one man's nightmare became one of racing's greatest revolutions. Blaine Johnson was the future, a young champion with the heart of a veteran and the respect of everyone in the pits. He was fast, focused, and pure talent. On September 1st, 1996, during a qualifying run at the US Nationals in Indianapolis, the world saw just how cruel drag racing could be. Blaine launched perfectly, his dragster accelerating past 300 miles per hour. Then, in an instant, his engine exploded. A part of the car's engine block struck the rear tires, sending the car into the air and into the wall at full speed. The impact was fatal. His brother, Alan Johnson, also his crew chief, was among the first to reach the wreckage. Witnesses said he dropped to his knees, speechless. It was a moment that shattered not just a family, but the entire NHRA community. The Johnson brothers had been inseparable, 2 men destined to dominate the sport together. Now, one was gone. The heartbreak at Indy forced the NHRA to implement new containment systems for nitro engines, designed to prevent shrapnel from turning dragsters into airborne weapons. Blaine's loss became the catalyst for safety innovations that would protect future generations. He was more than a racer. He was the sport's promise, and his death left a void that could never truly be filled. When his car exploded, it wasn't just metal that broke. It was the heart of drag racing itself. Scott Kalitta's final run at Englishtown, New Jersey is still one of the most horrifying moments in NHRA history. A 2-time top fuel champion, and the son of racing legend Kalitta. Scott was known for calm, skill, and consistency. But on June 21, 2008, in the blink of an eye, everything turned to chaos. During his qualifying pass, his funny car's engine exploded at over 300 miles per hour. The parachutes failed to deploy properly. With no way to slow down, the car continued down the track at full throttle, slamming into the sand trap and exploding in a ball of fire. The violence of the impact was indescribable. The entire grandstand fell silent. In the aftermath, the NHRA faced a reckoning. For years, shutdown areas had been criticized as too short for modern speeds. Scott's death forced change overnight. The NHRA shortened race distances from 1,320 to 1,000 feet for nitro cars, added mandatory engine rev limiters, and reinforced barriers at the end of every track. Scott Kalitta's loss was unbearable, but it saved lives. His name became synonymous with reform. As one fellow driver said afterward, Scott didn't just die in that fire. He burned a new path forward for all of us. His final run forced the sport to confront the limits of horsepower. Eric Medlen's death didn't come from flames or explosions. It came from something invisible. On March 19, 2007, during a test session at Gainesville Raceway, his funny car began to shake violently mid-run. To spectators, it looked like a routine pass gone wrong. But inside the cockpit, unseen forces were at work. Mechanical vibrations so powerful they turned the car into a weapon against its own driver. The violent oscillation, known as tire shake, happens when traction loss causes the massive rear tires to rebound at extreme speed. At over 250 miles per hour, that invisible tremor created G-forces that whipped Medlen's head side to side with devastating force. His car veered into the wall, sustaining damage that seemed survivable. But the internal trauma was not. He suffered severe head injuries and never regained consciousness. He was only 33 years old. Eric was more than a driver. He was a joy to everyone in the paddock, known for his warmth, humor, and humility. His death stunned the racing world because it revealed a killer no one had seen coming. There was no fire, no impact, no chaos. Just the cold realization that physics itself had turned fatal. In response, his father John Medlen and John Force Racing launched the Eric Medlen Project. Eric Medlen's death was the quietest tragedy drag racing ever endured, but it changed the sport more profoundly than any explosion ever could. He didn't die from fire or wreckage. He died from the invisible force of motion itself. June 27, 2004. Gateway International Raceway, St. Louis. The heat shimmered over the asphalt as Daryl Russell, one of drag racing's brightest new stars, strapped into his top-fueled dragster. A rising talent, polite and precise, he was seen as the future of the NHRA. What happened next would freeze that future in time. At over 320 miles per hour, just before the finish line, his engine detonated. The explosion tore the car apart mid-run, sending carbon fiber, metal, and fire into the cockpit. Fragments struck the canopy and pierced the roll cage. The car skidded, disintegrating in a shower of shrapnel. Emergency crews rushed forward, but the violence was beyond saving. Russell's death hit the NHRA like a shockwave. He was the kind of racer everyone liked, humble, kind, and fiercely talented. The sight of his shattered car became a grim reminder of the dangers lurking in every run. But even amid tragedy, his final run saved others. Engineers dissected the crash, finding that despite the horrific damage, the driver's survival cell had remained partially intact. That discovery led to the development of stronger chassis materials, carbon fiber shields, and improved fire containment systems. Daryl Russell's accident became known as the shrapnel storm, a phrase whispered by crew chiefs who had watched the footage in disbelief. It wasn't just a crash, It was an explosion that exposed every weakness in the design of the world's fastest machines. He crossed the finish line first that day, and never again. His death marked the end of one chapter of drag racing and the beginning of a safer, stronger one. Not all tragedies in drag racing happened behind the wheel. In 1981, the NHRA lost one of its own to the dangers lurking just beyond the burnout box. Leslie Lovett, the NHRA's official photographer, had spent years capturing the sport's most powerful moments. Frozen images of speed, fire, and victory. He stood closer than anyone else, always chasing the perfect shot. That pursuit cost him his life. During a qualifying run, a top fuel car erupted into flames at the starting line. The engine block exploded, sending shrapnel and debris flying toward the sidelines. Lovett, standing only a few feet away, was struck and killed instantly. The shock rippled through the entire racing world, a sobering reminder that danger didn't stop at the guardrail. Lovett wasn't just a photographer, he was a storyteller. His images defined an era of drag racing. The grit, the glory, the heartbreak. He believed you had to be close enough to feel the power to capture its truth. In the end, he paid the ultimate price for that devotion. His death led to sweeping safety changes for media and track personnel. Barriers were extended, zones were enforced, and new rules kept photographers at safer distances. Every image taken from behind those barriers owes something to Leslie Lovett's final moments. He wasn't a racer, but he died chasing the same passion. The raw beauty of speed and the courage it takes to stand near it. His loss reminded the world that every person at the strip, from driver to lensman, shares the same risk. It looked like the end of the world in slow motion. At Memphis Motorsports Park in 2000, Tony Schumacher's top fuel dragster exploded into the air at over 330 miles per hour. The rear wing failed, sending the car vertical before it broke apart mid-flight. Chunks of metal and carbon fiber scattered down the track as the front half of the car somersaulted into the wall and burst into flames. Fans screamed. Announcers went silent. For seconds, no one moved, because no one thought anyone could survive that. Yet, against every odd, Schumacher climbed out alive. His survival wasn't luck alone. It was a testament to progress. The titanium survival cell, first introduced years earlier after other fatal crashes, had held firm. The cockpit absorbed the impact, keeping him conscious even as the world disintegrated around him. Paramedics reached him within moments, finding him battered but breathing. In the hospital, Schumacher reportedly said, "That crash should have killed me." But it didn't, because the car worked. That statement became the foundation for a new safety revolution. Engineers refined cockpit materials, harness systems, and roll cage designs, focusing on impact absorption and driver containment. The Schumacher capsule, as it came to be called, became standard in all top-tier dragsters within years. Tony's comeback was miraculous. Not only did he return to racing, he went on to become one of the most successful top fuel drivers in history. His near-death moment became the blueprint for survival, proving that miracles in racing aren't divine, they're engineered. His crash remains one of the most violent ever recorded, a terrifying ballet of destruction that ended not in tragedy, but in triumph. Few images in drag racing history are as haunting as Johnny West's Fireball run in Phoenix, 1988. Known for his determination and quiet grit, West was a respected funny car driver who had survived countless near misses. But on that day, fire found him. Just seconds after launch, his car suffered a catastrophic engine failure. Flames erupted beneath the bodywork, fed by nitromethane fuel. Within a heartbeat, the entire car was engulfed. Spectators watched in horror as West's funny car, now a rolling inferno, streaked down the track. For agonizing seconds, he was trapped inside the fire, blind and suffocating. When the car finally came to rest, rescue teams swarmed in, tearing through the molten shell. West was pulled out alive but badly burned. His hands, arms, and face were scorched, yet miraculously, he had survived. The image of him being carried away, eyes swollen shut, became one of the most chilling symbols of drag racing's dangers. Recovery was long and brutal. But West refused to be defined by pain. He became an advocate for better fire protection, working with manufacturers to redesign flame-retardant suits, gloves, and helmets that could withstand the searing heat of nitro fires. The suits worn today, multi-layered, heat-resistant, and nearly fireproof, exist because of his ordeal. Johnny West turned agony into action. He became a living reminder that progress in drag racing is always written in scars. He became the face of pain and the reason every driver wears fireproof armor. Pat Foster wasn't just another racer. He was one of the great craftsmen of the drag racing world. Known as both a driver and an elite car builder, his fingerprints could be found on some of the most iconic machines ever to grace the strip. But in 1982, during what should have been a routine test session at Firebird Raceway, Foster's genius and passion met a devastating end. He was testing a newly built funny car, one designed to push the boundaries of performance. The air was calm, the track smooth, and the crew relaxed until the car reached full power. Just past half track, a sudden mechanical failure turned the test run into tragedy. Witnesses said the car snapped sideways at more than 250 miles per hour before erupting into flames. The body disintegrated as the car tumbled, a storm of smoke and debris trailing behind it. When safety crews reached the wreck, there was nothing they could do. Pat Foster was gone. The man who had built cars for legends, lost to the machine he created with his own hands. His death sent shockwaves through the racing community. In the aftermath, engineers dissected every detail of the crash. They discovered a catastrophic steering failure, a rare, almost unpredictable malfunction. It was the kind of thing only a racer like Foster could have spotted in motion. But fate gave him no time to react. Pat Foster's death became a somber reminder that even the masters are not immune to the dangers of their craft. Yet, his influence lived on in the very safety standards that followed. Tracks began enforcing stricter pre-test inspections, and builders started developing redundant systems for steering and frame integrity. He built legends for others, and paid the ultimate price testing his own creation. But his legacy remains in every car that passes technical inspection today, stronger because of the lessons learned from one man's final run. John Force had faced fire, explosions, and chaos for decades, but nothing prepared him for the crash that almost ended everything. In 2007, at the NHRA Fall Nationals in Dallas, the 14-time champion lined up for what seemed like another routine race. His funny car launched hard, surging past 300 miles per hour. Then, in an instant, disaster struck. Halfway down the track, his car's body panels tore apart, followed by a violent tire blowout that ripped the chassis in two. The front half of the car sheared away at over 250 miles per hour, slamming Force into the wall with bone-shattering force. His hands and legs were crushed, his body broken, yet somehow, impossibly, he was alive. As medics worked frantically, Force's first words were about his daughter, Ashley, who was also racing that day. "Tell her I'm okay," he muttered through the pain. It was a testament to who he was. A father first, a racer second, a survivor always. His recovery was long and grueling. Multiple surgeries, months of physical therapy, and the doubt of whether he'd ever walk properly again. But in true John Force fashion, he didn't just recover. He came back, and when he did, he made it his mission to make sure no one else would endure what he had. The crash sparked massive safety reform within John Force Racing and across the NHRA. New cockpit bracing systems, advanced composite materials, and even stronger restraint technology were developed directly from Force's wreckage data. His crash became the blueprint for the modern, funny car safety cell. He nearly died in the car he built, but his survival redefined what it meant to be indestructible. His comeback wasn't just a victory, it was a revolution. From that wreck came the safety cages that protect every driver today, and from the ashes of his shattered car rose a truth that defines drag racing's heart. You don't quit because you crash.